guys, welcome back to AJ Productions. I am AJ Baxter, and today I'm interviewing my great-grandfather, Larry Bielat. Okay, Larry Bielat, what would you like to be called for the interview?
Well, AJ, everyone calls me Coach, so you call me Coach.
Okay, Coach. So, Coach, what were your early years like?
Well, AJ, I was born in Detroit in a community called Hamtramck. In high school, I was a very good athlete, and my two major sports were football and baseball.
Did you win any honors?
Well, yes, I did, AJ. I was the high school All-American quarterback, and then I was a pretty good baseball player, and I was offered a contract by the New York Yankees, but I turned that down to go to Michigan State and play football.
So, Coach, what positions did you play?
Well, I was always a quarterback, and I also played defensive back.
So, Coach, how good were your football teams at Michigan State?
Pretty darn good. When I was a freshman, we won the Big Ten championship, went to the Rose Bowl, and beat UCLA 17-14. When I was a sophomore, we won the national championship. In fact, that's the national championship ring.
When you graduated, did you ever get a chance to play pro football?
Yes, I did, AJ. I went to the New York Jets, and I was the first quarterback of the New York Jets, but unluckily I broke my hand, and that ended my playing career. A quarterback isn't much good without a right hand.
No. So then, Coach, what did you start to do after that?
Well, I had a degree in education, so I decided to become a coach. And I started coaching high school football in Detroit and then Chicago. We won a state championship again as a coach, and we won a suburban championship out of Detroit, and then we won a Catholic League championship in Chicago. I was very fortunate to have some great players.
So I guess that's when you started coaching college football?
Exactly. And my first college job was at the University of Colorado, where I coached for 3 years, and we won a Big 8 championship. Then I went to New Mexico, coached there for 2 years, and then I went on to the University of Pittsburgh, where they were busy winning a national championship. So again, I was involved with the national championship team. And then from there, I went on to Michigan State.
So, Coach, how long did you coach at Michigan State?
Well, 12 years. And I went there with my good friend, George Perlis, who was the head coach. And we were very successful. Again, we won 2 Big Ten championships. We finished in the top 5 every year. We went to the Rose Bowl in 1988. We beat Southern Cal 20-17, and we were ranked in the top 5 teams in the nation.
Wow. So I heard you were a good writer. When did you start writing?
Well, we were at the University of Pittsburgh, and it was in the early 1970s, and I had this collection of motivational stuff. And other people would ask me, they said, Coach, they said, we need that stuff. Why don't you write a book? So that's kind of what I got my daughters together. We had 3 girls at that time. I got my daughters together, and I said, I will give you the information, you type it out. And we did my first book, which was called Winning Words, and here's kind of a copy of that. Then I did a second book called Words of Champions, and I was very lucky. Random House in New York, a big publishing company, they decided that they wanted to publish both books together in one.
Wow.
And they did that for 20 years, and I kept getting royalty checks for 20 years. Then I did another book called Winning Words of American Business, which I just took all business quotes, and I did this book.
All those books you have were nonfiction. I heard you have a fiction book. Let's talk about that one.
Well, yes, AJ, and I'm very proud of this book. It is called Lake Paradise, and it's being published by a company out on the West Coast called Black Opal Books, and I'm very happy with the way they did the book.
So how long has this book been out?
Well, about 2 months, AJ.
So why don't you tell me a little about the story?
Okay. The book came about by my visiting my mother and an uncle in a nursing home. They were in there for a year before they passed away. And while I was visiting them, every day I went to see them, I saw the way so badly how they wanted not to be there. They wanted to be home or someplace else. They didn't want to be in a nursing home. So the fella in the book is Jim Bradley is his name, and he's a fictitious person. There's no real person named that I know of. And he wanted to get out of that nursing home so bad. He knew that he didn't have long to live. And everybody that came to visit him would say the same thing. What can I do for you? And he would say, get me out of here. And they would say, well, we can't do that. And he'd say, well, why do you ask me? Then what can I do for you? Until his grandson came. And his grandson was named Scott. And his grandson was getting ready to go back to Michigan State, where he was a sophomore. And he asked his grandfather, what can I do for you before I go? And the grandfather said, everyone says that, but nobody wants to do what I want. He says, what do you want, grandfather? I will do it. He says, I want to go to my cottage. Where's your cottage at? Lake Paradise. He says, how will I do that? And his grandfather said, steal me out of here. Let's escape like going out of prison and take me there. You're not violating any rules. The grandfather said, look it. He says, I fought in World War II so that you would have freedom. I want some freedom now. I want to be taken care of in my last couple of months. And the boy said, I'll do it.
That sounds like a really interesting book.
Well, the people that have read it are all associating with that, AJ. Now, once he got up to the lake, all of his friends were there. People that he would see when he came fishing or hunting, or he and his wife just came up to spend the weekend. All of his friends were there. The sheriff, the people in town, his World War II buddies that were all retired there. And they all took care of him during his last year, his last couple of months. And there was a doctor in town, Dr. Lieb, and he stopped by once a week, made sure that Jim had his medicine and really took care of him. And I don't want to tell more about the story, but the story really talks about a young man in college who made the commitment to take care of his grandfather in the last couple of months.
So as you read that story, I think of myself taking care of you or Chief. So Coach, that sounds like a really interesting book. Where do you think we could purchase that book?
Well, the basic way to get it is online from Amazon.com. In fact, all my books are still being sold on Amazon.com, and also Barnes & Noble, the big book distributing company, and also you can buy it right from the publishers of the book, Black Opal Books out of Seattle, Washington.
So guys, it's been a pleasure interviewing my grandfather. I hope to see more buyers of this book, or at least just read the reviews. This is AJ Baxter signing off, and I will be back to you with another interview next week.